Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Today I am going to discuss with you about understanding cost. I have here some meaning, sample computation, and some analysis. Why is it important to know the cost, determine the cost, and understand the cost? Well, costs do not exist to be calculated. Cost exists to be reduced. That is why most companies have a cost engineer to determine the standard cost of the product that they are planning to produce. I have here the meaning of cost according to project control. Cost is the amount measured in money, cash expended, or liability incurred in considerations of goods and or services received. For cost management perspective, costs may include any investment of resources in strategic assets including time, monetary, human, and physical resources. So that is the meaning of cost according to project control and cost management. What are the elements of cost? The elements that constitute the cost of manufacture are known as the elements of cost. Such elements of cost is divided into three categories. In manufacturing concern, raw materials are converted into a finished product with the help of labor and other service units. They are the labor, material, and other expenses. So knowing the elements of cost will lead into effective cost control and cost reduction. And I have here the meaning of labor and labor burden. Labor is the effort expended by people for wages or salary, generally classified as either direct or indirect. Direct labor is applied to meeting project objectives and is a principal element used in costing, pricing, and profit determination. Indirect labor is a component of indirect cost, such as overhead or general and administrative. For labor burden is the friends benefits plus taxes and insurance the employer is required to pay by law based on labor payroll on behalf of or for the benefit of labor, unemployment insurance tax, and workers' compensation. That is the clear definitions of labor and labor burden. So meaning to say our total labor cost is the burdened labor. I have here the meaning of bare labor, the gross direct wages paid to the worker, and the burdened labor one is the gross direct wages paid to the worker plus labor burden. So that is the clarifications of the total labor cost. The next one is the material cost. Material cost is the amount of money invested in the production of a product. The ingredients of a meal or the parts of a machine would be things that incur material cost. So knowing this material cost will lead into this material cost usually get the highest percentage in the total cost. That is why supply chain department in every manufacturing needs to be well managed, and brilliant ideas in dealing with decision making is really important. And in getting material cost, I have here the total material cost. I have here material cost plus 20% allowance. This 20% allowance is intended for the possible rejects of the purchased parts or items or goods and for the possible offcuts during the processing in the production. And the last one is the expenses. And they are the one that do not relate to the company's main business. And I have here the total diagram of the elements of cost. As I mentioned, we have the labor, material, and expenses. For the labor one, we have direct and indirect. Material, we have also direct and indirect. And so with the expenses, we also have direct and indirect. We can see this one that all indirect cost belongs to overhead. And for the overhead, we have factory overhead, office and admin overhead, or selling and distribution overhead. That is the components of overhead. I also include here the key benefits of integration between and cost estimation and cost control. So first, we have a shorter time of communication improves and handling speed. More information can only lead to better judgment. Evaluation of cost control projects can lead to better estimates. Better estimates can lead to better insight in cost control. Better estimates can and better cost control can lead to better projects. And better projects lead to happy management and investors. So that is the importance of integration between cost estimation and cost control. I have here the definition and the relationship between cost management and cost control. Cost management is a concern with the process of planning and controlling the budget of a business or project business. It also includes activities such as planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, management, and controlling costs so that the project can be completed within the approved budget. For cost control, it is concerned with measuring procedures are applied to monitor expenditures and performance against the progress of a project. All changes to the cost baseline need to be recorded, and the expected final total cost are continuously forecasted. And profit can be increased if we have an effective cost management and cost control. And I have here the project cost management diagram. So we have here the resource planning, cost estimating, cost budgeting, cost and cost control. For the resource planning, the first one, it is important that we are going to determine the resources, people, equipment, materials needed for project completion. So in the initial phase of the project of the resource planning, the required resources to complete the project activities needs to be defined. For the second one, the cost estimating. So we are going to develop an approximation of overall cost of resources needed to complete the project. So several cost and estimating methods can be applied to predict how much it will cost to perform the project activities. For cost budgeting, the allocation of the overall cost estimates to the project budget. So the cost estimates together with the project schedules, forms, the inputs for cost budgeting, and budget gives an overview of the periodic and total cost of the project. That is the importance of cost budgeting. For cost control, controlling changes to the project budget. So cost control is the applications of procedures to monitor the expenditures and performance against progress of project, to measure the variance from authorized budgets and allow effective action to be taken to achieve minimum cost. So that is the complete diagram of the project cost management. The next one is costing. It is the execution in getting the cost or performing the cost calculation. So I have here the meaning of costing. Cost estimating activity that translates quantified, technical, and programmatic scope information into expressions of the cost and resources required. So that is the meaning, clear meaning of costing. I have here also the example of on how to perform costing. So in this table, so we are going to get the standard time, the total cycle time of the product with the different processes. So I have here, I will use 3 trials and then we get the average. After getting the average, we add or we apply performance rating. So I have here, so we can see that we have this one, the different performance according to the process. So after, this is not the standard time yet. So we are going to add the allowance factor. These allowance factors intended for the unavoidable delay. So after that one, we have the last one, the standard time. So this is how to get the standard time. So if I have this data, so it's the total standard time which is 23.5 hours, so we can get the labor cost. So how to compute the labor cost? Here we have this given inputs. So let's say we have 400 peso per day at 8 hours in a day. And remember that our cycle time is not in days, it's in hours. So we're going to convert this 400 per day into rate per hour. So we have 50 peso per hour. Using these inputs, we have the solution for our standard labor cost. We have 23.5 hours times 50 per hour. We have 1,175 peso in gold for 23.5 hours. And the next one, we have material costing. So I have here another sample of conducting the material costing. So we have the material list, quantity, unit of measure, the price, the amount, and I use 20% allowance factor. This 20% allowance factor is intended for the possible defects or any scrap or offcuts during the operation until we have the standard material cost. So in this example, we have 50,160 peso as a total standard material cost. So for the total material cost, so here it is 50,160 as the total material cost. The last one is the expenses. So expenses, as I mentioned, is part of our overhead. So I have here the breakdown of the expenses. We have indirect labor, indirect material, marketing expense, rent, utilities, insurance, taxes, and depreciation. Take note that these expenses is usually in per month, and our previous unit of measure we use per hour. So what we did is for the total monthly expenses, we convert it into daily and into hourly in order to have a uniform unit of measure. So we have here as 203.01 as our hourly expenses. This is just a sample only. So for the total cost computation, we have total cost equals labor cost plus material cost plus expenses. Using my inputs, in my example, I have standard labor cost, which is 1,175, standard material cost, which is 50,160, and the overhead cost, I have 203.01 per hour, and this will total to 4,770.74 in 23.05 hours. So, thus, we have the standard cost, which is 1,175 plus 50,160 plus 4,770.74, and it is 56,105.74 as the standard total cost. So that is all for standard total cost. And so what is the difference between cost and price? So price is the amount a customer is willing to pay for a product or service. The difference between price paid and the cost incurred is the profit. So if the customer paid $10, just an example only, for an item that cost $6 to produce and sell, the company earned $4 in profit. And this one is the clearer computations of the price. We have here one of the most simple ways to price your product is called cost plus pricing. Cost-based pricing involves calculating the cost, total cost it takes to make your product, then adding the percentage markup to determine the final price. So I have here the clear formula for the price. We have cost plus markup, and that is the formula for the price. For this markup, we are going to consider our desired profit, and some consider their brand and quality of their product. So it's up to you what percentage you are going to add in to your cost in order to have a price. Some use 30% as their markup. So it's very simple to get the total price. Just add a certain percentage to your total cost, and then you have a price. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.